Well, I'm sad to say I am now homeless. We had an asshole set fire to the van next door to me, and now I just lost my home. Everything's gone. I just got out with my stuff, my iPad and the iPhone. I lost everything, folks. I'm homeless. Fire department just showing up now. Man, I'm sorry. I did what I could.
Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Soo, your East Oakland advocate. Well, today is the final episode of a decade of homelessness, and it's going to be the most poignant and detailed portion. And this is where a lot of violence took place over the 8 years that I was at 77th Ave and also leading the Rangers community, the homeless community. And it was dependent upon me to keep the order in the area, to keep the camp open. That was the agreement with the city. And so even though I left for a year, that was for legal matters. But I still watched the camp. I still watched over the camp as required with my agreement with Libby Schaff, Karen Boyd, and the city of Oakland. That's why they left the camp alone pretty much. But it gets crazy. And the only way I can really describe the experience in my 20-year career working counterterrorism with the DOD and many other government agencies, I had more threats and more violence that had to be doled out than my 20-year career in counterterrorism. It was much more dangerous. Well, I can't say I shot more people while homeless because I didn't. I shot more people when I was under the agency. But I tell you what, the amount of use that I got out of my martial arts in the last 10 years is incredible. I've probably had more real world fights than some of the best MMA, UFC, and mixed martial arts fighters combined. For my street, just at 77th Ave Rangers, my record was 47-0. I had 47 dangerous encounters with criminals, thugs, gangs, and armed criminals. And I'd never lost. And many of those were with multitudes of people trying to kill me. And that was a constant threat at night because I was the oddball, because there's racism in homelessness. This is a predominantly Black and Hispanic neighborhood. And so Asians have a reputation of being model citizens. Well, I'm an exception to that rule, and I will always be an exception to that rule. So I'm going to talk about some of the really dangerous situations, some of the situations that even teenagers threaten my life. So I'm going to be back. I'm going to talk about those and let you know what the real world of homelessness and what was behind the burnout of me and the reason why I didn't go back. Okay, so now that we're back, I'm going to talk about some of the instances where I was really threatened, and threatened with perhaps death. And one of the first occasions happened in 2018, uh, shortly after the camp got its sanctuary status, and we started having a big influx of folks, and there was a criminal element in that at the very far end of the street, and they came down to test me, and these were street thugs who use intimidation and numbers to scare people and to take over camps. Yes, they take over camps. If you stay, if they allow you to stay, you have to pay them rent. Yeah, you have to pay them rent. And so I had the bathrooms. I was providing showers for the folks uh, at my expense, not anybody else's, my expense. We also had lots of food deliveries. I was also uh, partnered up with a local NGO, and they help provide propane gas so that the encampment could stay warm during the winter. And folks had to have their own heater, obviously, or a heating source that was propane friendly. And I controlled the propane. And the thing was, the folks had to return an empty container to get a full container. And you had to be authorized in the camp by me, and also the ladies that I had in charge of the day-to-day operations. And so there were a lot of benefits, and criminals love that because it makes life easy for them, and they can control the people that they intimidate. And that's what happens throughout Oakland. My camp was an exception because they learned about me very quickly in 2018 when we started having some issues with, well, it started out literally with drug dealers trying to move in on the camp. And when I had my ring of fire, my crew, it wasn't as hard to deal with them. But when it got down to where it was only me now, myself, and I, and also I had two friends that came in. Paul Washington, he was a little bit older than me. Paul died back during the COVID thing. He had a stroke. He passed away. He had COVID and then had a stroke, passed away in 2021. And so he was my day-to-day backup because he came down here. He had a 38 special on him. And then I had my G17 plus my C Camp 32 auto and my 22. So we had plenty of that. Plus, Paul was a big guy. Paul was 6'2". While he was older, he could hit. He could wrestle. He was one of the varsity wrestlers for Skyline High, and he even went to high school with Tom Hanks. Yes, the Tom Hanks. They were classmates at Skyline High. So Paul is a good friend. I miss him a lot. But, he was my backup during the day, and then in the late afternoon after school let out, I had another friend that came in, and he was the intimidator to a lot of the people, because Blue, he stood 6'8", and I mean, he was a college basketball Final Four player back in the day, and he shows off that ring proudly. His Final Four. He was Louisiana State back in the day. So and they went to the Final Four. And that's where they were eliminated. But he got a Final Four ring. So Blue, he is not a person that you can intimidate. I mean, he stands 6'8", and he is built. Yeah, and so I had my crew, but then it's when they left that things would get interesting. And I can say that there was never a time where it was a dull moment. Literally in the camp, there was no dull moments. There were down times at times, but then also enforcing a lot of things that went on. And one of the key things that I had early on was what I referred to, and everybody got to learn about my kill zone. My kill zone was a restricted area after 10 o'clock. You do not come into this area because of the past and current threats on my life. And then I've also had instances where a gang member came in with the full intention to kill me in the middle of the night. And that's why I'm a light sleeper. I no longer had my dog for early warning. So with my chi training, I could sense things and people and know who they are pretty much 25 yards out. So reading somebody at my front door of my shelter was not a problem, and reading their intention. And when I slept on the street, well, when I had my shelters, I had 3 guns next to my head. They were all, I mean, literally, I turned my head. I'm looking at either one side with 2 guns or the other side with 1 gun, because I didn't take any chances. It was that dangerous. One of the first early experiences, there were 4 teens. I felt them coming, and I felt their intention long before they got to my shelter. And what they were trying to do was lure me out and beat on me, rob me, whatever. But it was not good intentions, and I felt that. And they kept asking stupid questions outside. And then when I refused to come out, they came in. They unzipped. One of them made the almost fatal mistake of unzipping my tent and starting to come in. And then as soon as he popped his head in there, he was looking at the barrel of my gun. I mean, he disappeared real quick. I didn't fire, but all 4 ran. They said, gun, 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 and they were taken off. And the only reason why I didn't shoot back then, I did, like these glasses, I also wore contact lenses. That was one of the nights I did not have my contact lenses, and I usually slept in them. I got very comfortable with sleeping in my contact lenses because of my counterterrorism work. Sometimes I would be going days without removing them because of the work, and I couldn't carry the little essentials to do the cleaning, replacements, and things like that. So it was just easier to keep them in. And then once the activity ended, then I just take them out, rest my eyes, and replace them. But anyway, they were just teenagers from the neighborhood, and they did everything possible to try and lure me out. I knew what they were up to. I also, like I said, I felt their energy and knew their intention. And if you want to come get me, you can come get me, but I'm going to do it on my terms. And that kid, if he had poked his head in anymore, I had already taken up all the slack on the hammer on my my 32 auto. I was going to send one right through his brain, down his spine. He's going to be dead instantly. So good thing he went the other direction, because that was the only way that he wasn't going to get shot. If he got closer, I could see him better. Yeah, he was going to be erased from the face of the earth. That was one of the first instances, and that also happened in conjunction with this other crooked person who claims to be son of Oakland. It happened while he had just set up next door to me to do his little bullshit plea, because he was running for Oakland mayor and at the time. And so I got to know how big of a crook he really is, and that he should not be in the position of power for anything, not even a trustee. He is that crooked. He even said, he admitted to me, he said, man, if I get elected, it's going to be a pay to play on anything and everything. Whoa, that's really wrong. And that's from, he made the ballot. But it's a good thing that I put a stop to that because, well, you know the story. I had posted a big video on YouTube about the whole event, all his crookedness. And then also he was indicted by a federal court along with his crooked buddy, Larry Reed, and Larry Reed's son. Larry Reed's son went to prison. Larry Reed got let go because there wasn't quite enough evidence to say, yes, he was going to get federal time. And the same thing with son of Oakland. He just narrowly missed getting some jail time. And then I caught his dumb ass with a migratory bird in possession that is 100% illegal and finable and jailable up to 5 years for having possession of this migratory bird. So there were a lot of things on that. And the whole thing is that I had to learn to live alongside criminals and crooked people, literally. And then I also had to be flexible enough to continue to support my people, the real homeless folks that were looking for housing and had no choice, and they're not doing criminal acts. And for that period of time when the criminals did get me temporarily removed from the camp, that weakened the camp, and that brought in a whole batch of criminals into that camp, and made the situation extremely dangerous for all the businesses because they were getting robbed by the criminals. In fact, while I was gone, there was an execution of a person. 5 people were involved in that execution. We got all 5 arrested, plus the spy that snitched to the executioners that came to kill that person. So we got all of those people. We used, I kept telling the criminals that entire zone is under surveillance, 24-hour surveillance. And the criminals, they just like, that's their attitude on that. And that's why I say video cameras are pretty much useless unless you have something that's going to be totally interactive with the criminals at the time. And I mean, really interactive. That could be a vicious dog tearing them up. That could be water guns. I mean, high pressure water guns. We're not talking little super soakers. We're talking real high pressure fire hoses, weapons, arrows, crossbows, things like that. That's how we deal with those kind of criminals, because that's what they're going to do. That's what they tried to do to me. They once jumped me with five people as I was just tossing my garbage into the garbage pile. 5 surrounded me, but tell you what, I cut those numbers down I took out the first 3 in 4 seconds, and the last 2 who thought about joining in ran off. I laid out 3 people, 4 seconds, and none of them were standing. All of them were laying flat and darn near unconscious, and needed medical assistance. And so even in numbers, the gangs and the street thugs couldn't take me down. And then the other thing was they knew I was armed because I had been called the camp cop. And everybody thought I was an undercover cop because of what happened back in 2016, where the entire neighborhood saw Oakland Police Department police officers hand me back my weapon. That doesn't happen. And so ever since then, I had the moniker, he's a cop. Why are you hanging out with the cop? And so that was the intimidation that the street thugs used on a lot of my own people. And even my own people I couldn't trust. One example, when I got arrested that time, one of my camp leaders went down to my shelter, took all the things that she wanted, like the shower pump, some cooking supplies, all my Christmas stuff, and many other things. And then when I returned to the camp, when I found and confronted her about that, so, oh man, I was just saving it for you, make sure that it was safe. Did she return any of it? No, not one bit. In fact, when she went into housing, she took all of that with her. So, what am I going to say? Even as a camp leader, while you're appreciated by some, you're hated by all. And that's the bottom line. And that's why after so many different battles on the street, and the last battle, the one that actually ended up burning my shelter down, that was Shahid. He was known as Gunner in the street, and he was a long-term criminal with a long, violent history on the streets. He's been shot because he showed me, where a 45 bullet went through his arm, and he was laughing about it. It didn't stop me or slow me down. So that's a very serious criminal. And then also he had one of those automatic clips for a Glock. He had a Glock 19, and he got hold of one of those automatic Glocks, and he was shooting it in the camp. And that worried me a lot. That's why I kept my G17 on me. And then after a while, the Glock developed problems, so I went out and replaced that gun. I'm a FFL, so I can personally order directly from the manufacturer any weapon I want. And I did. And in that case, I had ordered a brand new HK VP9 9mm compact auto. And I had a lot of experience with HK weapons. They were a majority of my weapons in counterterrorism. I carried a USP 45 as one of my special ops weapons because it was fitted for a silencer. And yes, I did have a silencer. And it makes a big difference. It takes off about 40, 50 decibels in the gun, in the firing. But because I had a military version, I could lock my slide where the slide did not retract and reload. And the purpose of that is because I'm doing a single kill shot, and I want to be as quiet as possible. So you use a 45, a 185 grain subsonic, and you fire it through a silencer. And since that slide doesn't move, it's not much louder than you and I talking, about 72 to 80 decibels. That's all that comes out. It's that quiet. And so, anyway, Gunner, I believe Gunner had been a problem with the camp for a long time. He hated me. We had a number of run-ins, and he's a trained Kempo in martial arts, but his Kempo meant nothing to my three: Wing Chun, Eskrima, and Muay Thai. And he learned that. And so that's why he He always tried to intimidate me with his gun shooting things. Man, I'm going to shoot you one night. And I was like, hey, take your best shot. And as a, everybody knows who have done anything, but if you don't kill me, I said, you better not ever let me find you, vertical, because I'll make you horizontal. So anyway, he kept, I believe, his sister in this stolen van, which was literally parked next to my shelter. And he did that shortly after I moved in. And let me tell you, his sister, I believe it's his sister, Candy, she was hermaphrodite. She had both parts. And I mean, it was always night and day screaming match. And there were times where he's just throwing her out. I don't want you here. Get the fuck out of my life, and things like that. And then he starts shooting at her. We had police down there many times. She called the police on him. He was shooting at her. And that's how dangerous this person was. And so I took his threats very seriously, but he also knew that I had shot several people and killed one gang member in the middle of the night who came into my shelter with the full intention of killing me. And that was only one of the 4 that came into my shelters. And out of those 4, 1 never made it out. 3 made it out, but they never wanted a second try at me. And so it's dangerous. When people say living on the streets is their choice, they're a sick individual. They're mentally sick, or they're a criminal. My guess is that they're a criminal if they're choosing to live there, because nobody wants to live this way, where you're in constant fear for your life. There's a constant threat of either great bodily injury or death to you. And again, I'm the strange character in the neighborhood, because here in East Oakland, it's predominantly Black and Hispanic neighborhood. And the same with the gangs, Black and Hispanic. And I've had to deal with those. Some of the most dangerous people, MS-13, are right here in Oakland, right in your midst. How can you see them? They're easy to find. They got MS-13 right above their brow, forehead, on their neck, their cheek, I mean, it's insane. You can't miss it. Then you had the Sureños, Norteños, and other Hispanic gangs. Then you had the Black Guerrilla family, which threatened me. And I told them, hey, take your best shot, because you have no idea what I'm capable of doing. You may eventually get me, but how many people is it going to cost out of your crew to get me? Because I'm not going down without a fight, and you have no clue who I am and what I'm capable of doing. So those are some of the things that happened. And when Gunner set fire, I literally watched Gunner come up or walk right past me. I was doing a video just like what I'm doing right now. And so I couldn't stop it right away. I saw him going by with the little red can. I'm thinking, oh no. And he's not saying anything. He's just walking by. And then I see Candy run by. And then next thing you know, there's flames. There's smoke. And shit. And then I'm running to go see. Gunner's walking past me laughing. Like, you better get some of your stupid fire extinguishers. So he intentionally knew that my place was going to go up. And after that happened, I don't know what's become of Gunner, because he hasn't been back. But there could be a couple of reasons. Number one, police have him in custody once again, because they caught him with that automatic clip and that Glock. So he was on a federal hold until he wasn't. Then he got bailed out by some other criminal in the neighborhood, using somebody's ID to to secure Gunner's release. And so anyway, with all of the threats and all of, I only had one homeless person left in my camp at the time, and now we were being overrun with the criminals, and it was just a matter of time before they were going to all at once rush me, because once that other homeless person was gone, I had to leave. And so they actually did me a favor. Gunner did me a favor. It was a tremendous financial loss for me, because if you looked at a lot of the videos I was doing back at that time, there was a lot of stuff there. I had all my electricity supplied and everything. So my total financial loss on my shelter with all of my stuff was slightly over $16,000. And so I had a lot of NGOs and organizations saying, we'll help you rebuild, we'll build it back better. I said, no, I'm not going back there, because it's not worth it. City of Oakland was working with me until they weren't, to get me into housing, because my situation, I didn't have housing at that time. Now I do have housing because I own it. I own what we have here, and that's made a difference. And that's because the work that I did, my CI, my confidential informant work, paid me, or my reward portion that I've collected thus far is $7 million. And so all of that, it is untouched by me, and it is doing exactly what I've been talking about in my previous video on creating a forever income. And so that's what I'm doing right now. With the first portion of the interest, I have my financial planner acquiring gold, silver, and platinum, real hard metals for possession, not paper. Be sure, don't do that on paper. Do it only have possession of those metals. I took the first year interest and reinvested all of that back into precious metals. And so that's in the event that there's a financial collapse, a big recession, depression, financial collapse. Those hard metals are what's going to preserve your wealth. Nothing else will. Paper money will become, it's just like smoke. That's what I expect to happen if our financial system collapses, which is going to happen eventually, because it's happened before many times. In fact, at least 3 other times in history, the dollar has collapsed completely and disrupted the world. And that's where we're back at again. And so that's why I say, be financially responsible. If you come into some money, don't go out and just blow it. Get a financial planner, family estate planner, and a personal lawyer. And then with that, I was working with the city of Oakland. They reneged on a lot of things, and then they stopped talking to me. And so that's why I had to look for my own housing and my own resources. Since I had money, I had opportunities and options, and I took the option. I left. City of Oakland also contacted me towards the end of the year, saying, are you going to stay off the streets? Because they were working with me going into housing. And so I said, yeah, I'm not going back to the street. You go ahead, close the camp down as per our agreement. And Libby Schaff was still the Oakland mayor at the time. So I didn't go back. I don't need to go back, and I'm not going to go back. But I still walk over there to check on what's going on. And believe me, there's nothing going on over there right now. In fact, there's only one person there who is kind of homeless, but he's a criminal, because I've seen the stolen cars and especially the stolen utility trucks, the commercial trucks that end up over there. So he's not a regular homeless person. He's a criminal living there. And then the other shelters that are there are all abandoned and empty due to the fact that AT&T literally put a camera right on top of them, and they're monitoring that those criminals that were there, and so they moved out. They're not there anymore because of those cameras, and so there was no need for me to go back, and I have no intention of going back, but I do keep tabs on what's going on over there and talk to the police, the BART police, Alameda County Police when necessary. So I have a new business, and I am the leader for Where Do We Go, Oakland, and my portion of what we're trying to accomplish is addressing the major housing issue here in Oakland, and food deserts. Those are my two areas that I'm working on right now, and I have solutions for that. We actually have plenty of solutions for permanent housing here in Oakland. We just have to get rid of the stupid administrators and leadership that that are currently in power and doing more harm than good. So join me in recalling Mayor Shangtao, putting an end to this stupidness that we've all had to endure since 1999 with the start of the gentrification mayor back then. And let's put Oakland back on the map in a good way, not being known for the most dangerous city, the most crime-filled city in America. Thank you for joining me. And that's a decade of homelessness.